Ladies and gentlemen, Wakanda Forever is causing the exact unhinged responses as I was expecting. I believe that these types of reactions are the result of some people putting their faith in the wrong sources for their movie criticism over the years. They got used to sites like Rotten Tomatoes telling them everything they wanted to hear. So now they become incapable of hearing well thought out, different opinions. And with an 84% Rotten Tomatoes score, it appears to be continuing with this movie. Let's discuss.
They're dead. Alright, can I go now?
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
It's no secret that the Rotten Tomatoes system for grading movies is incredibly flawed. But interestingly enough, it always seems to benefit MCU movies, no matter how bad they are. And I think there's a good reason for that.
Hold on to your butts.
When you have untrustworthy professional critics inputting their biased opinions into a flawed system, the result will be the death of film criticism as we know it. Listen, if you liked Wakanda Forever and you're a normal human being, capable of not getting emotional over a difference of opinion, then I'm happy for you. I've never once said in any of my reviews that people have to feel the exact same way that I do. But when you come to the comments section and you act like a troll, and you imply racism over a movie review, that's when I lose all respect for you. I will not have my opinion discredited by Rotten Tomatoes sympathizers of all people, because I believe that Rotten Tomatoes is a cancer to films and the film industry. And that's exactly why I started this video series a short time ago, to expose the fraudulent hacks who call themselves critics on that website.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
From my perspective, Wakanda Forever is an average at best movie. Now, some may think it's a little better than that, some may think that it's a little worse than that. The reality is, however, is that the people who get mad at negative reviews, I believe, don't actually care about the quality of the film from a critical standpoint. They just look at Wakanda Forever and feel an obligation to defend it. Perhaps because they have an unhealthy obsession with protecting this thing that they love so much. And the only way to make them happy is to retort their opinions back to them.
Oh, well, allow me to retort.
But if we're being honest, that's not how real film criticism works. That's how fandom works, and people need to learn the difference. The word hate is thrown around a lot, and calling someone a hater just for not liking something, all of that is just an unintelligent way of deflecting valid criticism. And I'm just suggesting that that could be because they got used to hearing shit like I'm about to read from quote-unquote professional critics. First, we have Preston Barta from Fresh Fiction. He says, quote, "While difficult to take seriously at times, Wakanda Forever remains a fine addition to the MCU, offering the most food for thought than any other Phase 4 movie." Does that synopsis of his review not show you how low the bar is for MCU movies right now? Saying that this movie has more to offer than all the other Phase 4 movies isn't all that impressive. Mostly because Phase 4 of the MCU has been absolute dog shit.
That is one big pile of shit.
But here's the real question, why aren't we shooting higher than this? Why aren't we expecting better? Why didn't Wakanda Forever strive to offer us more than any other comic book movie ever? I mean, it was already set up to navigate through uncharted waters, and it had an opportunity to do something special with Chadwick Boseman, as well as how we deal with the next phase of the Black Panther character. Instead, we got the bare minimum for his tribute and the laziest passing of the torch ever. Just being better than the other Phase 4 films is not enough to me. And it shouldn't be enough for anyone who actually wants the best for these characters. Again, Disney has unlimited resources and the ability to give us a mind-blowing experience every single time out, and yet they consistently deliver to us mediocrity. That should be insulting to anyone with any kind of standards.
That makes sense.
Next, we have Rick Marshall from Digital Trends, who says, quote, "It offers a powerful tribute to Chadwick Boseman, but Black Panther Wakanda Forever sometimes feels like an MCU movie drowning in uncertainty." Now, I know what you're thinking, that sounds more negative than positive, so what's the problem? The problem is that this person said all this and still gave the movie an 8 out of 10. You see, on Rotten Tomatoes, what is perceived as a bad review can always be spun into a positive. A review like this screams of towing the line and not wanting to upset anyone with your opinion. You see, I don't care about upsetting anyone, because if you get that upset over someone else's opinion, you are most likely not worth my time anyway.
Don't waste my motherfucking time!
My advice to this person would be to grow a backbone, stop being scared of not getting those Disney exclusives, and give us a fucking honest opinion. Because that is what your job is supposed to be, after all. Also, almost every single one of these reviews, good or bad, mentions the powerful or emotional tribute to Chadwick Boseman. And it's almost like they're using it as a shield. Basically saying, who could hate this movie based on how they paid tribute to Chadwick? Well, let me tell you, because I'm not afraid to say that Chadwick actually deserved better than this. His character didn't deserve to be killed off-screen by an unknown disease in the most technologically advanced society in the MCU. And I believe that if you're going to include him in the movie, that he deserved a little bit more than 2 short scenes of tribute. You see, a great writer would have had Chadwick or T'Challa's presence loom over this entire film, if your goal was in fact to address his absence and to move on from it. But in all actuality, he felt like an afterthought in the center portion of this film. Why? Now personally, I don't think they should have addressed his death at all. They should have either recasted T'Challa as Chadwick once requested, or they could have done a Brian O'Connor Fast and the Furious situation, where they just kind of write him out of the story and he goes off and lives his life happily. What I don't want is to be reminded of what actually happened to Chadwick in real life, and that's exactly what this movie does. And then the next step would be to bring in a worthy successor, and that means not the one that we got. Either just another worthy character or another T'Challa from another universe, since the multiverse is at your disposal now. I get that they were in a difficult position, but to me they handled it in the worst way possible. Because Chadwick, T'Challa, and Black Panther's absence left a huge void in this film that could not be filled.
Oh, you're right. And when you're right, you're right. And you're always right.
And then we have Don K of Den of Geek, who instead of actually talking about the movie, decided to take shots at more traditional comic book fans in his review. That's right, it's not just coming from the studio anymore, now their legion of shills is piling on. He says, quote, fans of Marvel's long-fabled history will rejoice in finally seeing one of the very first Marvel superheroes, Namor the Submariner, on the screen, and only the most close-minded will not be able to enjoy his reinvention. Well, your argument kind of collapsed on itself there, didn't it, Don? So people are close-minded if they don't like the change, but you're not close-minded if you instantly dismiss a fandom's opinion. That opinion being wanting the character to be more accurate to the source material. This is the very definition of toxic positivity. You have to enjoy this character no matter how much it's been altered, otherwise you're a closed-minded toxic bigot. Is that correct?
That's racist.
How these people are allowed to have a platform where they call themselves geeks, I'll never understand. You should probably rename it to Den of Shills, or Den of Corporate Apologists. I got news for everyone. If you like this version of Namor, that's okay. But also, if you don't like this version of Namor, that's okay too. But what's not okay is shaming someone into agreeing with you. Especially contained within what is supposed to be a fucking movie review. You know how I always say that movies and movie criticism has become about everything except the movie itself. And this right here is exactly what I'm talking about. Half of these reviews don't even mention things like direction, or cinematography, or writing. What most of them do mention is how heartfelt or emotional this movie made them feel. And you see that over and over and over again, like they're fucking robots on an assembly line.
I'm having trouble.
And this is why variety in film and variety in film criticism is frowned upon now. Because it's no longer acceptable to challenge the status quo. The status quo being Disney and Marvel Studios, and there will always be a reason why you shouldn't do that. In conclusion, it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to have standards, it's okay to have in-depth conversations about movies. And if you don't like something, it's okay to say so. And the most important thing is to not let trolls on the internet tell you otherwise.
Y'all be cool. Nah.